evening and welcome to the May 1st, 2023 meeting of the Tupelo Planning Committee. Please take a moment to silence your cell phones. At this time, please rise for the invocation given by Patty Thompson and the Pledge of Allegiance led by Pam Hadley.
We bow our heads, please. Father God, we come before you tonight and ask your hand in everything that we do and keep our minds open to that which we know we need to be humble and thoughtful in all of our decisions. We ask this in your name. Amen. Amen.
We will face the flag and pledge. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. There it is.
The Tupelo Planning Committee is a volunteer group appointed by the mayor and approved by the city council. We receive no compensation for this as we do it as a community service. We spend a lot of time and our own funds studying and researching the applications and visiting the sites that are on our agenda each month. We ask that you remember that we do not take our positions on any application lightly. Our decisions are based on facts as they are presented and with regard to the regulations set forth in the Development Code. At this time, I would like to ask the staff and committee members to introduce themselves, starting with the staff, and remember to speak into the microphone.
Tanner Newman, Director of Development Services.
Jenny Savely, City Planner.
Mark Williams.
Pam Hadley.
Lindsay Leak.
Bentley Nolan.
Leslie Mart.
Patty Thompson.
Victor Fleitas.
Scott Davis.
Gus Hildebrand.
Russ Wilson, Zoning Administrator.
Thank you. Has everyone had a chance to review the meetings of the last meeting? Are there any corrections?
Yes, there is one correction. Under new business, it says you will not be serving as chair. And
Yeah, I had that circled too.
You hoped, right?
so we would like for that to say now be serving as chair.
Let's change that. Are there any other
I move that we approve with that correction.
Second.
Okay.
motion and a second? All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes. Do we have anything to report on the council actions from our last meeting?
No, there's nothing to report at this time.
Any old business?
Our text amendment 2202 still remains in legal review.
Okay.
And no business.
Moving to new business, first up will be the Flex 2303. Will the applicant please come to the podium, state your name and address, and present your case to the committee?
Yeah, I didn't mute this.
Thank you very much. My name is J.K. Palmer Jr., a.k.a. Buddy Palmer, and I want to applaud each member here. I have been on the planning committee before, and it's a tough job, and I appreciate what y'all do. Now, would you want me to state what?
Yes, sir.
Recently, because of the COVID and other things, help and all of that, our grocery store, which has been a mainstay in East Tupelo for 66 years. My dad opened it in 1957 across the street. We have been on the other side for 62 years. Like I said, we have been a mainstay there. We have kept our store very nice, very neat, clean, perfect. Unfortunately, with the COVID and the lack of help and lack of product from our wholesalers, my sons could not make it. They stayed there for many years, but it was just not feasible to make it. So we recently shut it down. We tried many grocery stores. We had one contract on one. I think you may have read it in the paper. And they turned, they actually, if we had a contract, and then the next day, they broke it and did not buy the store. We then got in touch with Mr. Knight from Todd's. He looked at it and decided not to do that. So a grocery store to liquidate is very difficult. It's very expensive. As a matter of fact, well, excuse me a minute, Damon, give them some of those. If you don't, I'm sorry, this is my son, Damon. These are renderings of my lot and actually 3 buildings there.
Thank you. Thanks.
There's one parcel of land in the middle that we have rented for years, 50-plus years, from the Merchant family. And he called a minute ago, I think Russ said, and he was not going to be at that meeting, but we have rented up that property from him. Since then, I've had offers, to buy my building for nothing. That building is a source of income for me and my wife. Of course, I get paid a lot of money to be a council person. I don't need a lot of money about that. And so we would like to do this. We're asking for a variance to allow us, my son, to put a climate control mini storage building there. We also have those on that lot. And if you look at that, you can see how that looks. I think it looks very well. As far as, I guess you'd say beauty, that's a nice looking lot. If you go down East Main, I think you'd look at that lot there with my, where I keep my trucks and different things. It looks good. It's going to stay like that. If you give me a variance, it'll look like that. It won't be any a lot of traffic or anything. It'll be a climate controlled mini storage. Now, I know a lot of you guys may say, we got too dang many of them. But what the market demands is more of them, and that's a chance he will have to take, because he's not getting the rent free from me. He will have to pay me rent. So I would like to ask a variance where we can start on that. If you don't give it, it'll still look like that. It is not going to be a restaurant. It's not going to be a restaurant. It's not going to be a coffee shop. It's just not built for that. It is built for a supermarket, and it's perfect for a climate control mini storage. So at this time, I'll entertain questions. All I want to do is, hey, we've been there 66 years and paid those taxes for 66 years to allow my son the opportunity to earn some of the money he's lost as a young entrepreneur in the supermarket business. It's going to be gorgeous. I bought the other 2 lots behind the store that are on Elvis Presley simply because it didn't look good. I bought those lots, keep it pretty well mowed. I got permission from Tanner to do that. It looks really good. I'm a strong believer in these types. I've lived there just about all of my life. I've raised my family there. So I'm sorry, but I don't think anybody on this committee knows more about East Tupelo and the businesses in East Tupelo than me. I just really don't. So, questions?
Yeah, but buddy, I'll ask a question and appreciate your presentation. And of course, you're kind of aware of what the city's tried to do from Crosstown all the way back, just short of where your property is, and revitalization, some of the zoning restrictions that are in place for businesses. And of course, you've heard of the Elvis Presley overlay potential.
Actually, if you let me interrupt that, when the council approved that, that went to Veterans Boulevard.
Yeah.
I was the one who made a recommendation to make an overlay district out there simply because of the houses back there. I think that all the houses that are demoed or redone should be done very much like what the houses looked like when Elvis was there. But at the time that we lost our business, was not approved by the council. Am I right, Jim?
Yes, sir, yes, sir.
None of this is applicable to your property, but your property is within a close vicinity of it. So
Yes.
I'm just asking you the question, since, as you said, you know those businesses probably better than the rest of us on this committee. Knowing that's the city's vision, do you believe that the mini self-storage kind of fits in that vision where that Elvis Presley overlay will get in, probably the district does move on the other side, incorporate that? Would you view this would be in commonality of where the city is trying to go with the vision?
I think it'd be as good as you can get. Looking at the businesses that own East Main, I think it'd be I think it would be a great, not addition, but you're not going to get everything with this overlay district that's dedicated to Elvis. You're not going to have the little coffee shops and all that. I do know that. And I think that my store's been there almost as long as Elvis. In fact, one of my buildings was where Elvis lived, the last house he lived in East Tupelo. So, yeah, I would love to see East Tupelo and all of that area back there be a quaint little Elvis Presley town with everything done. But yes, I think my buildings would shore up to anyone. Just drive out there and check it out. I think it would. Unless you took all the buildings down and built them exactly like maybe planning would like to see them. That's probably not going to happen.
All right, thank you.
I'd like to follow up on the question just asked, if I could, Buddy. If, and I'm speaking purely hypothetically here, if tomorrow fingers were snapped and the overlay district was applied to where the store is now, would that in any way change your calculation about what you would do with that space? If it were.
Yeah. But I've got 2 storage buildings already. So that came way before any of the overlay
Sure.
part. So I think with that building that I have and with no supermarket, that's going to be as cool a thing as you can put there. I mean, look at those renderings. It's you don't have any traffic, no traffic. It's everything is colored out good. You know, we could put some guitars around if you wanted us to. We could do that. But yeah, I think I'm prejudiced, but I think that piece of property now looks as good as any on the east side of Tupelo. And I'm not going to go through some of the other spots, but I would encourage you. And I saw Gus, he was there today, drove by there. And it doesn't look bad. It looks great. I wish it was still a supermarket, but it's not going to be a coffee shop. It's not going to be a Elvis Presley where you buy memorabilia or anything like that. The biggest thing we do with the overlay district, and I think these 2 people would agree, is to have the overlay district seriously on the houses back there off of Kelly. I mean, there's a lot of history back there on those houses. And we could keep those nice and neat and have them built or remodeled according to when Elvis lived there. See people walk back there. I see them. They walk back there. They feel Elvis back there. Now, they don't feel Elvis, I don't think, in my store, even though I tell them that Gladys shopped there. That's a lie.
I will say this, I really would hate to see another empty building there on East Main. We already have quite a few, and you know, the way I see it, we've got 2 homegrown East Tupeloians who are sitting here saying, hey, we're here to work with you. And as far as the overlay goes, in my personal opinion, you know, we've got to look at the aesthetics. That's, you know, one of the more important parts of the overlay guidelines. And what I hear, they're saying that they're willing to work with the planning department on the aesthetics and the landscaping aspect of it. And so I do think that merits some consideration.
You might mention those 2.5 lots that I bought. I mean, I think that's going to be a perfect example of preserving that ambiance in there. Hopefully one time maybe we could come up with not a house built like Elvis's, but something built typically like they were built back in the day.
Will you tell us a little bit about that, Mr. Palmer?
Well, I don't know anything about it. I'm too old to know or to be invested in it, but I think they're called Airbnbs. Yeah, I live out there. When Johnny's was open, everybody came to Johnny's. A big international group comes to Elvis still. After the movie Elvis has become strong again. It was waning, but now the young man that starred in that movie has brought it back. So we have a lot of people there that would love to stay in a house somewhere near the birthplace that is built something like period when Elvis was there. They could walk to the park, they could spend a day up there by the lake, they could actually go to our park, our beautiful Veterans Park, and it's just a great opportunity for somebody to do that. I'm not going to do that. Somebody else will have to do that. So I think it's a great idea.
But you've purchased some of that property to
I
preserve it.
purchased that property over there, so it won't be used for anything other than that. Absolutely not. And that's pro Elvis.
I agree with Tanner, buddy, that your area out there looks better than anything else in East Tupelo. And I know that when you say that you and Damon are going to keep it up and it's going to look that way, that it'll look that way, as just a past owner of a storage facility, there is very little traffic, and you can keep a storage facility looking nice. It doesn't have to look like some of them that are in town, but most of them now that are being built are actually a big addition to the city because they look good and they are required to have all the stuff around them, the plants, the trees, and everything else. And so I think that if we can't have a grocery store, that probably you're right. It's that storage facility is the best thing we can have in this building.
Damon, would you like to tell them what you plan on doing? And y'all have seen a rendering of the painting. He'll repaint those doors on the old mini storages, but it's absolutely unprejudiced, gorgeous.
It just gives me a chance to freshen up the whole area, That store got beat up pretty good during COVID. I mean, lady ran through the side of the building and we patched it up, so. I mean, it won't be a busy place like where you have to constantly clean the parking lot and all that, so just match the doors. His building looks great back there. There'll be windows in the front, so you can see the storage units in there. It's already set up for, it's got low ceilings. Put a door right on the middle front of it so people can kind of come in and out. It's kind of the way it's set up already. But I would look forward to doing that. And of course, this is an asset back there too, that green space that, Dad has that he wants to keep, because there is a need for that to look great as an entrance bill, especially vertically. So he loves that, he's on board with that, but there's already storage buildings there. They've had them for 20 years, I probably have them for 3. So, it doesn't take 25 or 30 employees, so. And I'll be doing it along with, I have help, but I'll run it right, and I'll make sure it stays looking good. And just put some new signage out there, clean it up.
Is there any long-term plans for the parking lot? Obviously, you don't need that many parking places.
That's the thing, those 2 gray areas right there, we don't own those. We have been renting that for a long time.
Oh, the parking lot.
Yeah, that gray.
Okay, I didn't realize.
We had just had ground lease on that for a long, long time.
Okay.
So.
But he'll have the opportunity to do what he wants to with that lot. We've rented that from his family for over 50 years. And so he'll have the opportunity.
Just to clarify on that, would you guys terminate that rental agreement then, since you wouldn't need the parking, or you would continue to rent that?
We don't need the parking.
Okay.
No, we just didn't need the parking.
Yeah.
When we were working through negotiations with those grocery stores, we definitely had that in there,
Right.
As long as they could go, 15-year lease on it. But when that fell through, and then the other one fell through, You know, it just seemed like the natural thing to go with that whole area. And,
You know, and maybe when there's a big group coming in from England or some other place that Buddy might get his trucks out there and have a display of, because those trucks are all Elvis Presley era. They're 50s model trucks. And so that would be a great display. He's got them all in that truck shot. Yeah. Yeah.
I have a couple of questions. So have you considered subdividing the building and potentially making the front that fronts to Main Street a coffee shop? You know, you said, oh, there's not going to be a coffee shop, but being able to subdivide so that potentially what faces Main Street would be something that is inviting for the community to come participate in, enjoy, and then do the storage for the back 2/3. Have you guys considered something along that line?
consider that, but nobody really seriously is going to do this with anything, you know, substantial, say, hey, I want to do that. Or that we could have confidence in that would stay there a long time to, you know, make it nice and you can count on it. I haven't had anybody come to me. I don't want to do a coffee shop.
We do have one coming to East Tupelo. I don't know if we've discussed that, but.
Well, there you go.
So if that's not an option, with your renderings that you've given us here, I don't see any landscaping on the front of the building, so it still looks like what was a grocery store that's now just going to be something else without adding beauty to that area to invite people to go to the flower shop that's next door to your property and for them to be able to walk around. What plans would you have for landscaping out front?
I don't know what you could do for landscaping directly in front of the building, other than some, like, potted plants and however other plants would be. But the curb is landscape. I mean, I can do more landscaping there, but it has been the whole time. We've got that's the green, that's the curves that I put in the green. So we've landscaped that for a while. Nothing fancy, just, you know, shrubs. But there's really nowhere to put landscaping in front of a grocery store.
But it's not going to be a grocery store anymore.
No, this is a grocery store building. But yeah, I'm up for ideas, whatever.
You'd have to tear the concrete up, is what you're.
Right, you have to take the concrete up, but I mean,
Yeah.
that's what you gotta do. I have seen some nice big planters that look nice through there. I think we had a few through the years, you know, kind of soften up the industrial look of it.
Will there be any access from the back of it? It's going to be fenced in or something?
The back of, he's got a fence back there already for partially in the back, but where the blue is, that's the back room. I didn't really want to get into that construction part of it yet, because that's a lot more, I mean, that's going to take a lot more. I'm just going to wall that off, like nobody can get back there, but as far as fencing in the back of the store, I don't know. You want to comment on that?
So how are you going in and out of the building?
The front door.
I mean,
They're cutting a new opening in on the very
Yeah.
front in the middle.
so you're going to be able to drive into it?
No, right next to the truck, you see, that's about a 5-foot wide door.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's that.
So they'll have to park outside and carry the stuff inside?
Right. That's.
Okay. I'm sorry, I was under the impression you were going to be able to drive into it.
I mean, there are some climate control buildings that big that you can do that, and most of them aren't that big. You go in, you carry your stuff in.
Yeah.
So, a lot of people, they'll convert old Freds the same way, and they put a door in front like that, just, you know, just carry in access.
The ones that are real close to this are the two old buildings, or not real old buildings, that were furniture stores out on Coley Road. They'll be very similar to what you have.
Yeah. So there's not going to be like an awning or anything like that for
There's
people?
already an awning there.
It's there.
Yeah. So it's about 5 feet already for the brick store for people.
So there's nothing across the front. There's,
Yeah, I drove out there and looked at it. I was trying to figure out how you would get into it.
that new entry in the middle.
Oh, you just come in, you see where the curb, you see the green curb basically right in front of the building. You'd have an entrance and an exit that way. You just pull in, pull right out.
Come into the door.
Yeah, Bishop's is right next door. I didn't render that out, but that's.
That whole area is very well lit at night, for security purposes, but it's very well lit.
Yeah, and under the awning too, outside. And the lights will always be, on the inside. But a good benefit also of this is the windows are already there, and they're substantial. I mean, you can see what's going on in there. Of course, we'll have video cameras.
So there'll be an office up front or
There'll be an
something?
office up front, there's an office up front.
Is anybody going to be staying on the facility? Because sometimes I know they have little apartments and someone lives there.
No, I mean, that was back in the day with the software. That's really not needed. Just pretty much contact us. I mean, they call me, I'll do anything, but, for a store size, for a storage facility this size, a manager's not needed.
Okay.
Like that. But that's how I've been running these other storage units also, and that's 10,000 square feet of them. Almost.
Are your current storage units filled?
Yes, they are.
Okay, and so you anticipate that these will be filled as well?
I do. I mean, I get called all the time. This is a little different niche, though, maybe a little different clientele. They're a little bit more expensive, get more valuable stuff in there, so.
Different sizes?
Yeah. I've got a rendering here, and they vary a lot in sizes, but nothing really, really small, You want something, 10 by 10's enough. But,
What size are you planning on having in there? Do you have a
total square feet?
Yeah, no, what size units? 10 by 20, 10 by 30, or whatever?
It won't be 10 by 30s. It'll probably go up to 10 by 15. And I'll need to get a professional rendering up. I mean, there's companies out there that will do that.
Yeah.
Of course, I've got ground up mini storages that I'm almost done in South Tupelo. I'll get the engineers to do that, to do the same.
Yeah.
So it'll be just gate access, put a code in, door opens, closes behind you, you come in, whatever you want, but it's lit. I provide them all the locks, they just go on the website and rent it, and then get in there and store it.
Yeah, just like mine. I mean, really, except mine that I had was drive-in. It was a drive-in, but had to back out. It wasn't drive-through, so.
Any further question? Thank you. We'll now open the public portion of the meeting. Is there anyone here to speak for or against this application? Seeing none, that'll close the public portion, and we're now open for committee discussion.
Well, as being a former owner of a storage unit, I can't believe it. They're building them, and it's amazing. There's more people looking for them all the time, and I just don't know where all this stuff's coming from. I thought, my wife volunteers down at the Sanctuary Village shop, and it comes in there by the truckloads, people cleaning out their stuff. But yet the storage buildings, it's still hard to find a storage unit in Tupelo, even with the addition, the new additions. We've had those ones out on Coley, the one on McCullough. We got some out here, East Tupelo, and it's amazing that people are wanting to store it away from their house. And I think I don't think that they'll have any trouble renting these out, because most people want climate control nowadays, unless it's junk they're putting in it. Because they're storing things like guns and antiques and things like that, and they want them in a climate-controlled area. So,
So, is that it for you, Gus? So, Jenny, what are the requirements for glass on the front of this building? What are the requirements for landscaping of this building? Can you tell
So
us?
this is an 18,000 some odd square foot building, so the restrictions on that are a little bit different than a lot of our commercial structures. There aren't requirements for masonry. It's 15% of the frontage in windows. And there is a requirement for one tree in front of the front point of the building, and then a 12% in landscaping from the front point of the building to the right-of-way is what typical brand new would be for commercial landscaping in a vehicular use area. And so, I reviewed this relative to, as a flexible use, you guys are approving the use in itself, and you are allowed to put contingencies on a flexible use to bring things up to code. But the landscaping, as he said, it would require them breaking up concrete to increase the landscaping percentage there. And that window is 15% of their frontage. So there really aren't, beyond landscaping, more contingencies in the way of bringing it up to base code. And the action required by planning committee here, I just want to make sure you guys all know, is just the approval of the use itself. Any construction would still need to go through our regular processes, but it wouldn't come back to this committee for those portions.
I'm a little concerned because we did turn down something similar across the street. Are we going to have any kind of flack from that? I don't know of a better word to use.
So, thank you guys for participating in this discussion. I really appreciate the information. What we asked, and I'll kind of direct this to everybody, what we asked of them was, despite not being part of the downtown overlay, that relative to signage and any improvements to the exterior, that having downtown Main Street have some voice in maybe the aesthetics and the renovation of that would be considered. And that's how we were looking at the corner of Briar Ridge and Main right there. And there was some, there were some different ideas floating around and limitations based on that location. But if that is something that you all would like to discuss or provide as a contingency to the development, that is, I think that would soften how the planning committee handled that relative to a blanket approval. If that would be something you wanted to direct into questioning our conversation.
Not sure how to word it.
And my understanding, what you're saying is that the suggestion to allow the Downtown Main Street Association to assist with some
Yeah, and I think-
aesthetics of the facade of the buildings.
Yes, ma'am, and I think not require it go through their stringent design review, but maybe offer some design comment, or they do free design renderings. And so you might get some assistance that would, towards signage specifically. I think most of the aesthetic changes to the exterior here are going to be the door and painting, so you may not have a large amount of exterior renovation that would even be something to consider from a design point of view.
Still not sure how to word that.
I think maybe having the downtown overlay, having them as either a requirement or have their advice.
Right.
As part of the signage approval. I think including that verbiage in there, I think that only helps, make the sale of why this were to be approved, and I also think that it helps with East Tupelo. I don't see a downside to that at all, and I don't foresee that, having any major cost prohibitive, results. So, that would be something I certainly would entertain.
That applicant did call this weekend and asked me about this application, and I thought that it was going to be here tonight, but they had backed out of that deal based on a lot of the input and suggestions. And the whole deal went into bankruptcy, and then they bought it, but they hesitated. They applied for flexible use for that location at Briar Ridge Road, and then never proceeded with that.
So the committee never voted on it?
Beg your pardon?
The committee never voted?
Right, and the committee never really considered it, just really kind of gave some feedback on concerns, and I relayed that to them. So.
They also had, for that other property, there was also some traffic flow issues. It's not just that they wanted to take a building and put mini storage inside of it. So I guess my biggest concern here is that it still looks like a grocery store that's just been converted into a mini storage. And Buddy, I commend you for your many, 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 many years of community service. And you have been, you know, a stronghold in really promoting East Tupelo and everything. And so I know your heart is always in the right place. I understand that. And you know what we all do up here, the same. And so I see what they've done a little further to the east, where they painted up, there's a clinic down there and a couple of stores, a little strip center. So things are really improving down on the east side that's pulling more shoppers in there. And I'd love to see something like that happening here. And I just wonder how, you know, is there anything that the city can do to help you guys find some businesses that maybe would be interested in taking the front half and you do your mini storage in the back half, so you're still generating revenues, but yet it's a win-win for everybody. I hesitate just to take the grocery store and throw mini storage in there, and it's still always going to look like a grocery store that had mini storage in it. Is there anything that the city might be able to offer? How does that business development side work? Is that a CDF thing? How can we help business owners pull businesses into some of these properties?
Historically, the city has worked with the Community Development Foundation for business recruitment. When approached by businesses who want to locate, if we are aware of available spaces, we certainly let them know what we know. But beyond that, our tax incentives and tax abatement is sort of our ability to work within that.
Okay, so you've raised a great point. So what opportunity do we have here for any kind of tax incentives like that? I know that we stopped down at the corner of Veterans and Main, but we had a caveat that we were going to look at and pursue pulling it up to Briar Ridge. So do we have?
Not in this location. It does stop at Veterans, the tax abatement district.
We'd have to actually pull it forward.
There would have to be an ordinance expanding the district.
That was my hypothetical.
Yeah. So we do have
If it were magically done tomorrow, what could be done?
I do still believe that, if you wanted to include some type of clause in there about the developers working with the downtown overlay to come up with some exterior, designs, options, I think that would be appropriate. And again, I haven't heard any negative feedback on that. I think, that would be a free service that they would offer. And I think, it would only help, East Tupelo move forward with these kind of updated, and again, I'm not talking about anything just, major, but something as simple as your sign that makes a big difference. And that's something that Lucia and her team can say, hey, here's some ideas, here's some thoughts that would, help in that regard. So I would certainly love to hear a little feedback from Damon or from Councilman Palmer on your thoughts on generally working with them in that respect.
But to answer another question that Leslie brought up, what does the mini storage look like? it looks like anything it wants to. I mean, you know, and as far as that, still looking like Palmer's Grocery Store, I think that's a historical building actually in effect in East Tupelo, and I don't see anything wrong with keeping that look there. It's kind of so Buddy can drive by and say, that used to be our grocery store there, see, and that still looks that way.
I'm going to say something. And y'all are younger than I am probably, but this has a lot to do with the Palmer legacy that my dad started. He moved from the west side of town to the east side of town and built a house there and built that, went and wrote his first year across the street. And Malone and I funded him with an inventory. So it gets really personal. It's like your home. I would hate to see it, my store, reconfigured. I do think it's a part of East Tupelo. I think people drive by, I guarantee you, the people that live in East Tupelo know where Palmer's is. It's not me, but the store. So I'm with you, Gus. I think that's a part of the legacy of East Tupelo, and certainly a big part of the legacy of the Palmer family. I think if, like Lincoln Goodland, yeah, I know it needs to have, I know it's gone, but I mean, you've got to have that feeling. You've been with that a long, long time. You've got a feeling about that. So I don't know what configurations you like. It looks like a grocery store. It smells like a grocery store, but it's a dead plain, just a plain Jane main storage place.
It's just a building, but it looks like a
It
grocery
looks
store.
exactly like it did.
You know, to that respect, it'd be kind of neat to see the old traditional Palmer's signage incorporated.
We get an artist, you can put Elvis renderings on that sign, on the.
We do best of both worlds, whatever how that is. I'll look at what they have. And of course, we want to keep a little bit of the nostalgic grocery feel in there. You know, I may leave smoked meat up on one of them.
Yeah.
Oh, no,
Really,
he's
that's
fine.
neat.
Yeah.
Yeah, your storage units above the smoked meat.
Are you gonna retain the Palmer's name as part of the
It's on the sign.
self-storage unit?
It's on the
Yes,
sign.
Right,
it's on it
okay.
right now.
Control, you know, we have a sign out there, and I'm gonna, how it needs to go, you know, replace it and do it right.
In the drawing.
Yep, Palmer Storage.
So that's something you all would be willing to work with the Main Street Association?
I'm sure y'all have been out there and seen Johnny's. I mean, you don't want to get rid of Johnny's, you don't want to change Johnny's.
No, you don't.
Johnny's is Johnny's, that's the way it needs to be. It's almost like Palmer's is Palmer's. It doesn't need to be changed.
That's why I kind of lean towards bringing back that nostalgic, traditional, original Palmer's signage.
We can do something like that.
So
It does
Lindsay,
feel that
I'll
same.
go ahead and make a motion that we approve as submitted with the caveat that they work with the Downtown Tupelo Main Street Association in consultation for the exterior and signage that meets the spirit and intent of the association and the harmony of the district.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Appreciate what y'all do. Thank you very much.
Well-
Made a great decision.
Here.
Take care, buddy.
Jeannie, will you tell the applicants their next steps, what they would be?
Yes, we'll let you guys, we will send an approval letter to you all, and then you'll just go through any renovations and for the signage, just applications for those.
You know, buddy, that the council has to approve it.
Yeah, but you can't trust that line.
I know.
We'll get you on there,
Those are
Councilman.
some
Thank you.
spicy. They're potent.
Yes, they are.
The Department of Development, so they are going to present tonight?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I'll present this one.
Okay, all right. Second on the agenda is application RZ 2301 Department of Development Services, City of Tupelo. If you would please come to the podium, state your name and address, and present your case to the committee.
Do you want me at the podium? I'll present.
Yeah, all right.
Very happy to. All right, thank you, committee. As you can see, there is a parcel we have that is split zoned on South Veteran Street, and it's split zoned between mixed-use commercial corridor and medium-density residential. The reason we're bringing this split-zoned parcel to you all for rezoning to fully mixed-use commercial corridor, the owner has expressed a need for development, and that split zoning of a parcel is generally considered to be a mistake in the original zoning, which should follow parcel lines. Development becomes a little complicated in a split zoned parcel. And for the potential proposed use, zoning verification is needed for their professional licensure. And so to complete that accurately, we really need a fully zoned single use or single zone parcel there. And so you are looking at along South Veterans where it is part of the mixed use commercial corridor. The proposed use is commercial, which would fit in harmony with that road. The reason, and you can see the back side of that sort of block is residential, and the site plan for this development would have to be reviewed by committee. So really you all are strictly looking at the rezoning of the full parcel into the mixed-use commercial corridor for this.
We're just tidying up something, is that correct?
That's right. We are tidying up the zone. Correct.
So, Jenny, I'm
Yeah.
looking at the map up there, and it looks like that line goes through several.
It does.
Are we only looking at correcting this on the one? Or are we
Yes.
going to fix it?
So traditionally, you don't, rezoning is a bigger deal than a lot of things that we go through.
Yeah.
This will have to go through city council. And we typically, for more than 5 acres, a development plan is required. Now, this is less than that. We're on 2.2 acres. So the reason that we're not rezoning an entire strip here is because we don't have demonstration of public need for the rezoning of all of those parcels. We really are looking at the public need on this one parcel for its potential development. Those other vacant parcels, if development is proposed to us, it's likely that we will need to rezone those separately. But we don't really put the cart ahead of the horse on that one.
You can't just rezone because you want to. There has to
That's
be
right.
a
You have
need
to have a
for it.
reason.
Yeah,
Indeed.
We've done this several times,
Oh, yeah.
made corrections, this is nothing new.
yeah.
But it is specifically related to the interest in development that has initiated the process. And we are able to couch that within the development code regulations because
doing this.
it is split zoned and
From
this
here
does
to
clarify
there,
the line.
Okay, it just wasn't clear. So we're just moving the line so that it's in between where those
It'll
3
follow the
little
parcel
lots?
line. Yes, ma'am. So this is the parcel that you're looking at. And so it would just move this black line to follow right along.
Right
and it
along
would
there.
pick back up there.
Gotcha,
Yes, ma'am.
wonderful.
But,
I make a, can,
excuse me, I
oh, we
just.
can't do that yet.
I just wonder, who owns the little triangle in front of that?
Could I
Yes.
mention that? That parcel and that is owned by the applicants that are, the people that are planning on building it here tonight. But since we had some changeover, that has not been recorded in our system yet. So it's actually showing it as a previous owner on that, simply because the property records haven't gotten, but we do have the deed from them, and it does include both that and the triangle off of Veterans.
So that's now one large parcel.
It is. It's just not being shown that way in our maps because we just haven't gotten all of our GIS stuff updated recently.
Okay, thank you.
Good question.
Any other questions? All right. Does anybody want to speak for or against this? All right. We'll Now move into committee discussion.
I move we approve the rezoning.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Unanimous?
Jenny, you want to tell yourself what your next step is? No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
We will
No, I'm
present
kidding,
this
Lindsay.
to council and for their final approval, and then we can get you all a zoning verification letter.
Lindsay, I'm sorry.
You're very welcome. Thank you
About
guys.
to be fun.
Appreciate
You're
it.
welcome.
I didn't know she was going to present. The city council will review our decisions, and Jenny will report back their findings at our next meeting. Do we currently have any applications for the next meeting?
We do not.
Oh,
I know, it's harder.
Okay.
well, the
Yeah.
next Monday is Memorial
Not
Day.
yet. I do, yes. So I do anticipate, we have a prospective application. So we don't have one in, but we have been working with someone on an application that would be for duplex, a duplex community. But I will get that to you guys as soon as we have that site plan ready.
Okay.
So for the planning committee meetings for June, Memorial Day is when our regularly scheduled work session would be. And so for that Monday, I'm requesting, if you all are amenable to it, to move that work session to the 30th at the same time, which is just the Tuesday following our regular Monday session, leading to the June 5th.
Still at 5:15, yes?
Yes, ma'am. Is everybody all right with
Oh, yeah.
that one?
Mhm.
Okay, perfect.
So we're talking May the 30th and June the 5th.
That's correct.
If we have an application.
Yeah, if that application comes through, yes, sir.
All right. Is there anything else?
Yes. Lindsay, if you don't mind, I would like to take a moment to share something with y'all. First, I want to say thank you for your service and dedication to the city of Tupelo. The last almost 2 years, it's been the honor of my life, truly, to serve with you all. I think we can all agree that some major accomplishments have been made, and it's been incredible to be a part of that. As you all know, back in January, I announced my candidacy for Northern District Public Service Commissioner, and it's become evident that the time has come for me to step away from the city, at least temporarily, to focus my efforts on that, on the race. And effective Wednesday, May 3rd, I will be taking a leave of absence from the city to campaign full-time across North Mississippi's 33 counties. And in that time, the mayors will appoint Dennis Bonds, our city engineer, as the interim director. So you'll be seeing a lot more of Dennis over the next few months. And I just want to say thank you all for your support throughout this process. And I'm very appreciative to the mayor and to the city council for allowing me to temporarily step aside to pursue this endeavor. Look, as always, I'm available, happy to take your calls, texts, or emails, and just ask that you be patient with Jenny and Russ and Dennis throughout this process. And thank you again for your service.
Thank you, Tanner.
Thank you.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved.
We're adjourned.
All in favor?
So.